So we normally begin our meetings with an invocation. We do not have a pastor with us, so if you'll all just join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. So it's 1:30 p.m. on September 20th, 2022. If you'll all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Attorney Ingalls, do we have certification of the agenda today?
We do, Mr. Chair. All items have been reviewed by the Attorney's Office, and they all meet legal approval.
Okay, thank you. And do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda today?
I have none, thank you.
And I have none either. So with that, we will move to item 2, which is our citizen comments and organization comments. At this time, you're welcome to comment about any topic other than what is scheduled on today's regular agenda. You will be prompted to comment on those items at the appropriate time. This is an opportunity to share your thoughts and ideas with the Board of County Commissioners. Please state your name and where you're from prior to making comments. You will have up to 3 minutes to make those comments, and then commissioner comments, if any, will follow all citizens' comments. Do we have any citizen comments in the room? I see a lot of wonderful individuals in the room, but no citizen comment. Okay. Do we have any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no hands raised.
Okay, and with that, I will close citizen comment and move to item 3, which is our consent agenda. Let me just ask if there's any citizen comment, either in person or online, around our consent agenda today.
Commissioner, I just received one raised hand from a Lee McPherson.
Okay.
Lee, you are unmuted. Go ahead. Oops, hang on. Okay, Lee, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Ms. McPherson, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Yeah, so this is a meeting that's, the public can come in and speak. Is that correct? We have 3 minutes?
Yes, and your time is going as you're speaking here.
Well, that's okay. So my name is Dawn. My husband is Robert. We live in Highlands Ranch. We have been severely treated horribly by the division of the Department of Public Works. In addition to the Public Works, we just had a meeting with Barbara. She is the assistant manager, I believe. It's been offensive. It's been horrible. We've been treated horribly. There was destruction at our property. This story is going to go public to everyone. It's absolutely, the damages are ridiculous of what we've had to incur. Threats, manipulation from the county. I went to a county commissioners meeting online last night and was kicked off. I basically was thrown in a position where we could not reconnect to get a connection to do the meeting that you had last night. I think it was at 6 o'clock. And I had some issues with, first of all, we need to have resolution as to repair the damages that were illegal to our home by the county. Mr. Roberts has lied. He's done some corruption that is unbelievable, what he's done to involve our property. Barbara, her last name I believe is Drake. I could be wrong. I just had a meeting with her on the phone. It was absolutely appalling. The corruption at the county level is so scary. So last night when I went into this meeting that was held at the commissioners meeting last night online, I was listening to this concerning issue with Lavieres and how the wildlife and the fishing game did not properly get the information, is what I was told or what I heard. I questioned it. There was no issue of expanding of what my question was, in addition to the floodplain with Lavieres. And there was comments made and the commissioners just passed it. So I'm here to tell you that I'm very concerned about people being dismissed and not being heard. And I think commissioners have a duty. They've been investigated before. I'm the person that's going to make it known that what you did was pass something on the water, that you were going to have a water project. And it sounded like this gentleman didn't even have clear knowledge if the posting for information for all the area for the wildlife and the fish and every agency that should have approved this and gone through it. He didn't even remember if the letter was there, and you all heard that and you did nothing and you passed it. So it's striking to me that the offensive way that you are treating my beautiful state, my beautiful county, needs to be investigated. And I'm very adamant about taking part in our civic duties now moving forward. I'm trying to get resolved, and apparently I can't get resolved because there's corruption. What the corruption level is, Mr. Roberts did one thing and did something else. He did something that he wanted us to get our own contract person out to do our cement repair that they caused. It's the most offensive thing, and I would like you to be acknowledging me and my concerns, and I don't think I was acknowledged last night. In fact, I was banned and kicked off. Thank you. That's my time.
Thank you, Ms. McPherson. Any additional citizen comment on items for the consent agenda? And unfortunately, I think that was not related to anything on the consent agenda, but that probably was more appropriate for citizen comment in item 2. Is there any additional citizen comment on our consent agenda?
I have no additional online comment.
Okay. Well, and because we received that citizen comment, let me just go back and see if there's any commissioner comments.
I have none.
Well, I have a couple. So we have been apprised of Ms. McPherson's concern, and I will say that we always appreciate the input and desire to connect with the county. I will tell you, in 4 years of being here, hearing from our staff the number of hours that each of them at a very high level, our county manager, our PIO, our county counsel, Barbara Drake, our deputy county manager who's been doing county work for a better part of 30, 40 years, have all spent hours with Ms. McPherson. We did receive a photograph of her sidewalk, which indicated a scrape of some sort on her sidewalk. I'm not sure if that was associated with a snowplow or public works. In my life as an attorney, I'm certainly familiar with the concept of reasonable wear and tear, but I know that our county staff has put every effort into trying to address this one citizen's concern. So appreciate the comment and always welcome any perspective, but really want to just acknowledge the hard work and effort that our county staff put into trying to address every citizen issue. You all are very remarkable, so thank you for doing that. With that, I'll close citizen comment on the consent agenda and we'll accept the motion.
I have a motion to approve the requests in all items A through AC of the consent agenda.
And I will second that. So there's a first and second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that passes 2-0. So with that, we'll move to item 4 in our agenda for today. And it is a relatively historic day today. We do have some significant items. Probably the largest contract, I believe, in the history of Douglas County. But item 4A in our regular agenda is an award of a construction contract for an amount not to exceed $101,284,008.09 to Kramer North America, LLC for the U.S. Highway number 85, Highlands Ranch Parkway to Dad Clark Gulch widening project, federal aid project number STU 0852-118, parentheses 23474 in parentheses, and Douglas County project numbers CI 2022-20-021, and CI 2011-025. And we have Art Griffith presenting for staff. Hi, Art.
Thank you. Oh, thanks, Ben. We started this, Art Griffith for Douglas County engineering staff. We started this project many years ago. The project was originally identified in CDOT's I-25 and US 85 environmental impact statement back in 2002. A lot of improvements on I-25 and US 85 have occurred. This project grew more increasingly important, and we kind of got it underway in 2015 when we applied for funds through Dr. Cogg's TIP process. The project limits are generally depicted by the blue line, but it actually extends further to the north, to the top of the page, to Dad Clark Gulch, which is about 1,200 feet north of County Line Road. And the southern limits are the Highlands Ranch Parkway. The project involves a widening to 3 through lanes in each direction, adding continuous auxiliary lanes, adding a 10-foot trail on the east side, providing grade-separated trail crossings at the C470 trail as well as at the Highline Canal Trail, adding improved bus stops and actually some bicycle connection, places to leave your bicycle, bike racks. The project includes some partial continuous flow intersections at Highlands Ranch Parkway, Town Center, and the C470 interchange. Many utilities have been relocated as part of this project. Some of them are underway as we speak, namely Xcel Energy and a large 66-inch diameter Inglewood raw water supply ditch. It's actually a pipe that carries their drinking water from the mountains to Inglewood. And that just got underway a month ago. A final design and right-of-way acquisition was completed in 2021. We spent about $5 million in right-of-way acquisition for this project. And construction is slated to begin October 3rd and take up to 3 years to complete, pending award of this contract. Briefly, we have identified our funding partners, DRCOG, FHWA, CDOT, Highlands Ranch Metro District, Sterling Ranch, and Solstice Developments, and some of the Highlands Ranch contributions are in kind. Here's a graphic of the partial continuous flow intersection that takes a lot more capacity, and that's one of our main objectives, including safety, is to improve capacity in this corridor, which is consistent with that NEPA document that started in 2002. What happens here is the northbound to westbound movement enters a displaced, I don't know if the mouse works here. There's a crossover here, so there's a signal south in advance of the intersection, and then you store all the cars for this heavy left turn movement to go westbound C470. The first phase of this project that Douglas County led was started in 2006, and construction began in 2009 of the southbound flyover ramp that's depicted at the top of the screen. Before you is just a cross-section of the proposed improvements. You can see we have shoulders, the through lanes, auxiliary lanes, a detached sidewalk on the east side. There's some landscaping areas, but they're fairly limited because we're pinched for trying to keep this project within existing right-of-way, but as I stated earlier, in some places we needed to acquire more right-of-way. This project is just taken out of the plan set. The plan set's about 1,500 plans. This is part of the utility sheet. Utility companies will be spending over $20 million to relocate their utilities at their cost. Some of them are leaving the corridor and heading half mile out of direction since there's so many utilities. The drawing before you is just one sheet in the plans that gives you an idea of what's actually under that pavement that we rely on. Water, all the major electric lines that serve Highlands Ranch and further north along the 85 corridor are coming out of this intersection just to the top of the sheet west of Town Center. Related to traffic impacts, This project, an award of it includes multiple closures of CDOT facilities. We'll be completely reconstructing the C470 85 bridge, which carries 85 over C470, and widening it quite a bit. So there'll be night closures to demo that bridge and replace it in various phases. This is just showing a detour route for closing the eastbound C470 off-ramp at 85. This will occur multiple times starting in November. We will close that ramp, and we have taken that up through the CDOT chain to get permission and included it in the bid to close that ramp starting on a Thursday night and opening it on a Monday morning as we lay that 66-inch Inglewood water line about 25 feet deep under the existing ramp. So the blue lines indicate the detours for traffic if they want to head back to Santa Fe. They have to go up to Lucent and make U-turns and come around during that period of time. If they're headed northbound, they can also go up to County Line Road and then go west on County Line and up 85. We do have periods of time during the project that require restricting left turns to and from Highlands Ranch Parkway and Town Center. We'll never do both intersections at the same time. So we'll be working on restricting left turns at Highlands Ranch while Town Center is open. But needless to say, Google and others will be encouraged to use alternate routes. In preparing for that, working with our traffic group, we installed traffic count installations along Lucent Boulevard, north of Plaza, north of Town Center, north of Highlands Ranch Parkway, and also on County Line Road, which will help another project, so we can monitor volume and speeds and make traffic signal timing adjustments as people are encouraged to take alternate routes as they work their way into Highlands Ranch rather than continue down 85. So a lot of steps have been taken in place to prepare for this large project and impact. The bid and selection process followed federal guidelines. Bids were opened on July 28th. We received 3 bids. Kramer was determined to be the lowest and most responsive bidder. They submitted a bid for $1,284.09. That's approximately 2% above the engineer's estimate of $99 million. The engineer's estimate was revised this summer and essentially adjusted about 15% for inflation compared to what we had anticipated 2 years ago when we set the budget. The average bidders were around $107 million. Okay, Kramer North America, also referred to as KNA, met the DBE goals of 15%, and we have concurrence from CDOT to award a construction contract to Kramer. Funding partners, key financial partners on this project include the Chatfield Basin developers. They'll be providing $8 million, which is available now in fiscal year 28, and they will continue to reimburse the county for an additional $27 million as development incurs in the Chatfield Basin. Will be reimbursed $33.373 million from CDOT in accordance with the executed IGA that occurred earlier in January of this year. That includes $26.273 million monies that were allocated through the Dr. Cog tip process for this project. As construction occurs, the county will submit monthly invoices to CDOT for 80% of the completed construction until we reach their maximum contribution of $33 million. And that will probably occur in '24, even though the project will continue to '25 because we're providing what they call a large amount of overmatch. Staff is recommending award of a construction contract to Kramer North America in an amount not to exceed $101,284,008.09. We'll be utilizing an incremental encumbrance method stipulated in the project special provisions identified in Addendum 3 of this multi-year contract. And what that means is, with the award of this construction contract, the county will be appropriating and encumbering a total of $52 million in Douglas County fiscal year 2022. Additional funding in '23 and subsequent years are subject to future county commissioner approval in order to move the project forward with funding over multiple years. We have created, similar to what CDOT has, a unilateral option letter to increase the contractor's contract amount for expenditures as the project moves forward. So, for example, we have slated around $25 million for 2023 budget for this project. Be set aside in our '23 budget. Once that budget's approved in December of this year, then that will allow us to provide an option letter to Kramer and increase their contract amount by $25 million. And then as we receive those reimbursement payments back from CDOT throughout the year, we'll collect those monies, we'll do budget supplementals to recognize that revenue, and then that too will increase the total contract amount encumbered for the contractor. And with that, I'm open for comments and questions regarding this project and an award of the contract.
Really big contract, Art. Thank you for that presentation. Any questions for staff?
So Art, thank you for all of this work. Is Kramer North America the contractor that did the I-25 GAP project?
They are.
And so they finished that project ahead of schedule and under budget, is that right?
That's correct.
Was there any kind of incentive from CDOT for them to do that?
There may be some incentive to do that. The incentives that are built into this contract are mostly related to performance of pavement. So there are performances related to that. Their bid items for the project mobilization is a lump sum amount. And so if they can finish a project earlier, and they're sure striving to do that on this project by implementing multiple crews and starting multiple phases at the same time, then they'll recover money because their management costs won't be spread out over 3 years, nor will their rental costs for various things, like even the trailer for the construction site, which has all kinds of fiber optics going into it and cleaning and stuff. You've got a trailer that they're renting for around $400,000. That sounds like, why not buy a house? But it's also all the services related to it, dropping power drop to that. So the longer the project takes, the less money they'll have for profit. So they're motivated to keep the project moving forward in a timely manner.
So thank you for reading my mind for the question I was going to ask you. I have been fascinated by this picture. It was on our budget book, I think, in 20. And I have never seen this in Boulder. I understand that this system where you can cross the southbound lanes going northbound so it's easier to go westbound exists already. I can't imagine being southbound on 85 and seeing people northbound next to me. That's going to be kind of like driving on the wrong side of the road in England. But I am very excited to see this when this is done, because this is all about efficiency. Is that right?
Yeah. So I don't have in the slide presentation, but there was a graphic that we did that shows when triple left turns would fail and how much more life this concept gives for the growth that we have coming in the 85 corridor. And so this just handles an incredible more amount of traffic. And the way this solution came at this location was actually CDOT's requiring us to have 2 lanes in each direction, southbound and left turn lanes at the C470 interchange during all phases of construction. And so we are ending up overbuilding the bridge, which will be a huge benefit to the environmental justice and senior community there. That's partially in Douglas County, but mostly in Littleton, the Woolhurst adult community. They have no way to access the C470 trail, so they'll have an incredibly wide sidewalk on the west side, because in order to phase construction, we had to overbuild the bridge to deal with the traffic during construction. So what happened is this continuous flow intersection is about $30 million cheaper than adding a flyover that you see in the other quadrant that goes south to east. And so we ran the traffic models that showed that not only was it going to work during construction, but it would work great through 2040 traffic projections. And so we moved forward with that as a permanent solution.
So I just have a couple more comments. As you were talking about all this complicated government finance of moving money around, I'm sure that this is going to put additional work on our finance team. But this whole project is going to put additional work on our public communications team. So I'm pleased to see Caroline here in the audience, because I know how her team works with Wendy, and they're going to make sure that there's lots of information going out to the public so they understand, like when the eastbound ramp to 85 from 470 is closed. So thank you for being here, Caroline, and there will be a lot of work put on all of our teams to make this enormous project work. Do I understand that the groundbreaking is next month?
October 3rd, they're ready to go.
That is next month.
Yeah. And Caroline and I have met with the contractors, public information team, as part of the contract that was awarded during the consent agenda for Rock Saul, who's the consultant that's providing all the inspections and the construction management assistant and material testing. They also have a consultant to help Caroline and I make sure that we got the message out. And it was a meeting with CDOT, and they were so happy to see all of our players involved that CDOT said, we'll let you guys run with this on their facility. So they have a lot of faith in Caroline as well as I do.
Well, good. So just for those listening, what Art is referring to is item S on the consent agenda. That was a $7 million approval. So that just shows you how important this project is as $101 million, that we put a $7 million project on consent agenda. Thank you, Art, for everything.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Art, you've done such a wonderful job navigating this, as has many of our staff. So going back to the bidding process, there was an item there that said, I guess, the way in which bids were accepted. So were there other bids other than the 3 that were not accepted?
You know, the wording is standard wording that we say, because sometimes you'll open a bid and it doesn't meet qualifications. In this case, all of the bids were submitted correctly, and there wasn't any errors. You know, like, for example, if they didn't follow some CDOT process, because this is a federal aided project, we would have to reject the bid. If the bids were arrived 15 minutes late, we have to reject bids. So in this case, we only received 3 bids, and all 3 bids were read, and they were all reviewed and acceptable bids.
Well, thank you for that. I just wanted to clarify that these were the only 3 bidders. And in terms of the process by which you identified the winner of the contract, you walked through, I mean, obviously Kramer came in as the lowest bid. Were there other significant criteria that would be of value for public hearing today?
Absolutely, and in part of the contract is all their supporting documents related to their qualifications to perform this work. We have the right, according to the Code of Federal Regulations, to request additional review and ask for contacts and get into performance that contractors will have performed. In the past, even on a federally funded project, we have gone to the second bidder based on concerns that we felt going with number 1, the low bidder wasn't in the best interest of the county. That had a lot of appeals to CDOT, but they did agree with us in our assessment. So we have gone to someone lower than a low bid. That wasn't the case here, and it didn't need to come up. So Kramer's well qualified, and in their package of contract documents is all of their qualifications on similar projects.
Thank you for that, Art. So no doubt, past performance is often a predictor of future performance, and what they have been able to accomplish, with GAP is just incredible. Every time in our travels, we have the opportunity to engage with CDOT leadership. The GAP often comes up as being not only on time, I think it was early and under budget. Am I right in that?
I think so.
Yeah, well, that's what I hear. So I hope that's the case. But we know it certainly wasn't late.
That's the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a toll component that is a break-in period. So they still haven't set up and operated the toll managed lanes yet.
Right.
But that's built into the CDOT's back office to make sure that's up and running. And I believe that should be underway in January. And there's pretty much, the project's pretty much completed and ready for that to occur in January. So I think managed lanes are operating free until January.
Yeah, what a huge success. Well, that's a wonderful accomplishment by Kramer, and I think we'd be awfully lucky to continue to work with them here. So could you talk a little bit about, you talked somewhat about some of the built-in incentives in the contract. Can you talk with us a little bit about any default remedies if they're not on time or if they are over budget, what that looks like?
On both sides of the equation, for delay, for lack of performance, it's probably around 5,000 to 10,000 a day liquidated damages if they were unable to complete the contract in the 3-year period. Now, what's built in is they, after we award a contract, is a baseline schedule, and then they provide updates to that baseline schedule. We start to look at critical items. What's driving their schedule are still some additional utilities that need to be removed, and we're working with Kramer and the utility companies to resolve those. But if there was a utility delay, that would be our risk, that we would have to settle with the contract, and then we'd have to try to recover those costs from the utility company for that. So that's kind of our risk. But if they don't perform and they don't complete on time, because this is a completion date contract. So in any large project over 3 years, they have what's called float. And they have to built-in float realistic to when they can perform and complete the contract. And so a lot of that was covered in detail. So really the incentive part that is what I spoke on earlier is tied to performance of pavement mostly.
Yeah.
There's some pavements
Well, if they complete early, obviously, that's a significant incentive.
The pavement's probably around $21 million on this project, so
Okay,
it's
wow.
a big subcontract.
It is. So, I think oftentimes county governments, city governments, they're dealing with congestion traffic projects and trying to figure out how to fund them. I want to be really clear, we are not going into any sort of debt as a county to fund this project. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And we're also not raising any taxes to fund this project, right?
No, it's all scheduled in our 5-year plan.
Yeah.
And I have a sheet here, just. it's
You
great
have a lot of
question.
sheets there.
Yeah. It was.
Color
It was in
coded. There it
the
is.
last page of the work session on the 23 budget that we presented. So essentially, and it's also in the packet, the ward today will obligate, appropriate, and encumber $52 million that's available. And that includes essentially $8 million from those developers that we talked about in that $52 million. In the 23 budget, we anticipate a request, and we believe the commissioners want to move forward with the project they start. So there is a $25 million budget in 23 for the project that you'll take action on in December. And in 23, we estimate $10 million being reimbursed from CDOT of that 33.3 million, and the balance of that will come in 24. So we only really set aside our money in 23, the additional 25 million, and then you'll have to take budget supplementals to recognize the additional revenue that comes in from CDOT and future development contributions in out years. And one of the budgets that's coming from the developers is 1.8 million from Sterling Ranch, which you'll be recognizing as revenue in December. But we don't have that now at time of award. So the remaining amount of money would be set aside by the county as part of our budget. And then we don't have much reliance on the development contributing in 24 and 25 for this project. It only totals $147,000 in those out years. And if development continues, we'll collect more than that. So you're correct in your statement that the money is appropriated for this multi-year contract.
Well, wonderful. And that's also a lot of great work by our county manager and budget and ensuring that we're being fiscal stewards of those resources. How does, we talk a lot about how county government pays for projects of this size. How do we compare in terms of our prioritization of road projects compared to other similarly sized jurisdictions?
Very well. We have a 0.4% sales tax for transportation that started in '96, and in 2007 we went to the voters. I believe it was around 75+% voter approval to extend that 0.4% sales tax for transportation out to 2030. And then it was in 2019 that we augmented that with that additional 0.18% voter approval that goes through 2035. And those two are the primary funding sources for the county for these projects. We did have, I think in 2019, set aside some money in what we call Fund 225. It was kind of a one-time budget that we did to bolster our transportation improvements prior to the 0.18 sales tax approval. And so we've built that and held that in a pool of money and invested it during these past few years. but we'll be using that too. So that no longer, funds are received in that fund's 225, but we'll be using 28 million of those dollars as part of this initial award of 52 million.
Yeah, thank you, Art. And just to clarify, that 0.18 isn't a new tax, that's a diversion from the Justice Center sales tax, right? Maybe you said that. Well, thank you for that. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, let me open it up for any citizen comment on this item 4A. Is there any citizen comment either? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Susan Beckman, SUSAN-BECKMAN, and I'm here representing Sterling Ranch Development Company. First of all, we would like to thank Douglas County, the commissioners, and the staff for their work that they have done to get money from the federal government and from the state government, and the work with the Denver Regional Council of Government. In this environment, to get money from the state and federal agencies is difficult, and I know it takes your staff a lot of work, and it takes leadership to make that happen. Sterling Ranch is very excited to be a part of this project. To date, we have paid over $9 million into the highway fee to pay for our pro rata share of traffic on 85. So we're involved in a lot of projects, but this one is really exciting because we're leveraging our money so significantly. And I personally drive this stretch of road every day, and so I'm really excited to see what it looks like when it's all finished. So thank you so much for your hard work, and thanks to staff for making sure that they were able to leverage our small amount of money that we're putting in Sterling Ranch. So thank you.
Well, and Ms. Beckman, our thanks to you and Sterling Ranch for your ongoing partnership with regard to these significant projects. We certainly appreciate that. Further citizen comment? Troy, do we have any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. I do have Lee McPherson again. She'd like to speak.
Okay.
Lee, you're unmuted.
And Ms. McPherson, I want to be very clear that we are speaking to item 4A, which is the contract.
We're speaking to.
Okay.
I'm well aware. I'm also aware of your misstatement, or with you made a comment. Basically, I'll address that with Barbara. I've already called her. So that was wrong what you said. The's not a scratch on our sidewalk. You were incorrect.
Again, I'm going to ask you to refrain your comments to item 4A, ma'am.
Yes, I
And I'm also,
understand that,
I've been apprised that you've been swearing and cursing at our staff, which is not taken well.
I'm sorry that you were almost removed from your position not long ago for interjecting wrong and illegal activities. I'm going to be advising the board about what you just said as
Never
well.
occurred.
I'm sorry. We know the history. Regarding the situation at hand, can you tell about the safety record of this company? And also there's quite a bit on the Gazette newspaper regarding research onto why these other companies were not getting the proper due they were due to bid on the projects, and also the amount of money that will not be accounted for until it's coming later on. It's severely under budgeted, so that you're going to have a lot more money that they're going to say you're going to have to owe. And basically, I have to understand that this is basically a project that was awarded, but there's significant reasons why these other companies are always missing out on getting the proper due they are due to bid on these projects. So if this company, and I believe the company, maybe I'm wrong, Art, I could be wrong, you would know this, is this based out of Tokyo, or am I wrong?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that last?
Well, I want to be clear, this isn't a time for citizen questions. You can make a comment during the time allotted, Ms. McPherson, and you have a minute 27 left.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you, Counselor. And I did never cuss, so I think you're incorrect on that, as well as the scratch on my sidewalk. Going back to this project, the Gazette newspaper has done a lot of research on this company that you've given the bid. There's been a lot of projects involving this company. The significant cost hikes after the project, the actual original contract prices, are so inflated after the project begins. And then you have further amount of money that will increase. Almost half of went into the expansion of the northern portion of I-25, which grew in scope where the state legislature made more money available for the highway. So it was so it was not reported that the actual costs were so much lower and it came in at so much higher. I'm wondering if you're aware, Art, of this could happen and what you expect to have what the final budget will be, because this is a very ginormous, if I can say that without the counselor saying that I'm cursing or making some inflection of something wrong with his inappropriate actions that he's done. But what I want to know is the Gazette, who did research on this, stated that there's been many of the people that have been bidded have been pushed out. I don't know why, but I was told that the Tokyo-based company owns this company, and I understand that there's safety records that are very, very dangerous with this company, and the actual final cost of this project will be so much more than the 101 million or 101, I forget the amount, I apologize. I thought it was 101,284 is what you're showing, but I actually was told that it was much higher, and that the two
So, Ms. McPherson, your time has expired. Troy, are there any
thank you,
additional,
Counselor. I'm so
Troy, are there any
grateful for that.
additional
Thank you.
online comments?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no other online comments.
Okay, and with that, I will close citizen comment. Art, would you like to respond to any citizen comment?
Yeah, I could take some of that. The contract is being awarded to Kramer North America LLC, which is in good standing with CDOT, and they're doing business in that company, and they're qualified to do this work. I'm not one to investigate their partners on the ownership of that company. That's not our role. This project is full for the full amount. Sometimes Kramer, like on the South Gap and up on North I-25, enters into a CMGC contract. And we'll just use an example of close to home, the I-25 South Gap. So there are several packages that were awarded to Kramer. In order for Kramer to lock in their prices with their subs, we are awarding a contract for the full amount, but we are only committing to $52 million this year. There are no anticipated additional construction packages related to this total amount for $101 million. That's why we refer to it as a not to exceed amount of the contract. So I hope that helps a little bit, Commissioners.
I think it does. So with that, let me, it sounds like we don't have any other citizen comment either in person or online. So with that, I'll bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
Well, this is quite an honor. In 6 years, I don't know if all the motions I've made total this amount. So I have a motion to approve an award of a construction contract for an amount not to exceed $101,284,008.09 to Kramer North America LLC for the U.S. Highway number 85, Highlands Ranch Parkway to Dad Clark Gulch widening project. Federal aid project number STU 0852-118 23474, and Douglas County project numbers CI 2022-021 and CI 2011-025.
And I am honored to second that motion. Is there any further discussion? I'll just say, what a phenomenal presentation, and I'll just echo the sentiments of Susan Beckman that the hard work and dedication that you've demonstrated are with all of staff and our partners to land this significant movement forward to alleviate congestion and serve our citizens is truly, truly remarkable.
Thank you very much.
So all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that passes 2-0. So with that, we'll move to item 4B on our agenda for today, which is a contract for the Perry Park Road Traffic Safety Improvements Project to Kiewit Construction, Colorado, in the amount of $2,734,340.50, Douglas County project number TF 2020-023, and a budget reallocation transferring $303,608.25 from business unit 800833.478200 to Business Unit 861-565.478300, both in Fund 230 to meet the increase in the local match required by CDOT. And we've got Dan Roberts presenting for staff. Hi, Dan.
Hello, my name is Dan Roberts. I'm with the Department of Public Works, here to present the Perry Park Road Traffic Safety Improvement Project. So Art was a little winded when he came up to the podium because his project was like running the Leadville 100 ultra marathon. This one is more like maybe a 5K run walk, but still an important project for us in Douglas County. So this project is, oh, I need to turn it on. Hit the keys, thank you. This project is located on Perry Park Road, beginning at the county line on the south side of the county, runs up to Wolfensberger Road. That's the extent of Perry Park or County Highway 105 that is part of the county's responsibility. From the north there, 105 continues, but it's a state highway. So two primary elements to this 18-mile long project. The first is the addition of rumble stripes along the edges and along the center line of the road for the full length of the project. And the second is the addition of widened shoulders and guardrails through a very specific section that's very curvy just north of Red Rock Drive. So the reason for this project is we needed to implement some traffic safety improvements. We originally went to CDOT requesting funding in 2017. And at the start of the project, we actually had it separated into two different pieces, but we have combined them. So you can see the history of crashes that was done in the original study, which was a 5-year study period from 2010 to 2015. Significant number of run-off-the-road crashes. Most of the crashes involve single vehicles. And then there were some multi-vehicle crashes and some fatalities through that section. We did look at the next 5-year period and find similar information that there's a very high frequency of run-off-the-road crashes. And in the pictures, you can see some of the section through the curves where a lot of those run-off-the-road crashes occurred. So the improvements we're adding through the curves, the new paved shoulders, and you can see a picture there that's representative of what it'll look like when we're finished, and then the addition of guardrails, and that'll be on both sides of the road for about a 4,000 feet stretch of the road that's the most dangerous today, or where we see the most crashes. And then the addition of the rumble stripes along the center line, along the edge line of the road, and that's for that full 18-mile section of the roadway. So here's what the cross-section will look like through the curved area north of Red Rock Drive. You can see the addition of the new shoulders and new guardrails, widened section of the roadway. And then the rest of the roadway, a little bit difficult to see, but the rumble stripes are actually in the pavement marking, so a lot of times you see the rumble stripes outside the pavement marking. Because the road is so narrow today, we really don't have room to do that. So it'll be, we grind them in the pavement and then repaint the stripes right on top of where those rumble strips are. So the project is a partnership with CDOT. It's being funded by a Federal State Highway Improvement, or HSIP, grant in the amount of $2,148,300. That type of grant requires a 10% local match. With this project, we have an overmatch because it ended up coming in higher than the original estimate, so that additional cost is up to Douglas County. So the total project cost, including the design, construction, and construction management, is $3,256,700. And you can see the split there. It's about just a little bit over $2 million from the grant money and $1 million from CDOT, or from Douglas County. So still a very good investment of Douglas County funds. We're paying about a third of the cost of this $3 million project. Schedule-wise, work is scheduled to begin in the next couple weeks. We do have a few utilities we have to relocate that before we can start work on the widening of the shoulders. Work can begin on the rumble stripes as soon as the project notice to proceed is given. And then again, thanks to Caroline and the communications team, We've done several outreaches already. We do have a virtual open house up right now for public comment and to provide information about the project. Citizens can sign up for project updates, visit the project website, or get information on Douglas County Next Door. So that's the extent of the presentation on the project. So what we're requesting approval today are just a couple items. One is approval of the construction contract that's in the amount of the $2,734,340.50. And then a couple budget actions that we need to do to move money into a single account so it's easy to track funding on this project. So that's all I have to present today.
Dan, thank you so much for that. So when the board is prepared to make motions, will we need an additional presentation from you on item 4C, or are you looking for two motions from the board for B and C?
So just a single motion to pass.
On B.
That's correct.
Okay. Any questions for Dan?
So
Actually,
Dan,
C is. Yeah, actually, C is a separate presentation, and
Got
Ben
it.
will be
That's
doing
fine.
that. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
I thought I heard you say you needed to, but okay.
so did you say that the guardrails are for a 4,000 feet along Red Rock Drive?
Along Highway 105.
Right, but
it's north of Red Rock Drive in those reverse curves where a lot of the crashes occur. And that's where the widened shoulders and the guardrails are going to be installed.
And that's 4,000 feet.
That's correct.
And then it's 18 miles where the rumble strips will be put in.
Correct.
Okay. You know, having been a state trooper who covered many of those run-off-the-road crashes down there at those S-curves north of Red Rocks Drive, I know exactly what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it then were people falling asleep. And so I'm glad that we're putting this in here finally, so thank you.
Dan, it seems like this is a really cost-effective way to keep people awake and safe on the roads down there. We've had a lot of conversation about recreational use of that road and bicycle connectivity. And the fact that from a practical level, if rumble stripes are installed, that will really force Perry Park to be the bike lane. So when we think about safety for an ever popular recreational activity among cyclists, how do you envision the county moving forward on that? I realize that's a little bit outside of the purview of this conversation today, but it's associated with the rumble stripes.
Correct. So we have received comment from the bicyclist community who use the road regularly on the weekend. Fortunately, looking at our crash history over the last 5 years, we've only had 2 bike crashes. I say only. Bike crashes are always pretty scary because the lack of protection typically of the riders, so potential for greater injury. But that is good news, which tells us that people are very aware that bicyclists use this corridor, and so they watch for bicyclists on the corridor, heightened awareness. I know that our traffic engineer has been looking at the new CDOT signage that is going up around the state that basically cautions and reminds motorists to give bicyclists 3 feet of clearance when they do pass. And so this is one of the corridors, along with several other corridors in the county, that is targeted for addition of that new signage to make sure we continue to heighten awareness of bicyclists on the road. It is a challenge because a lot of the more advanced cyclists do ride that stripe to try and stay out of traffic, but really giving them that clearance is the critical thing. So they are going to have to move out into the road and use the road, which is really designed for them to be in today because we don't have a wide shoulder for them to use.
Well, thank you for that. Part of my foray into public service 20 years ago while I was in law school was around public safety for cyclists on 119, so it's an issue near and dear to my heart. So thank you for that. Any further questions or comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, let me open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment on this item 4B? Troy, do we have any comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have Lee McPherson again raising her hand.
Okay.
Is that letter.
All right, Lee, you're
Here.
unmuted. Go ahead.
Oh, hi. So I have someone listening on to this so we can make this clear so I don't get, slandered or defamed about cursing. Basically, I just want to know if Mr. Roberts was involved in this contract, as unfortunate we have had dealings with him. This contract was for, I forgot the amount of money, but did you check on the people that were awarded this contract, what their safety record was, Mr. Roberts?
So again, Ms. McPherson, I'm going to advise you that this is not a time for citizen questions. It's a time for citizen comment.
Comment. Oh, I appreciate that. I'm sorry. So let me correct myself. What type of research was done, if any, by the safety record of this company getting this minor contract compared to the Tokyo-based Kramer North America? How much research, was there enough research done into the safety record?
So again, Ms. McPherson, that is an interrogatory. That's a question.
Well, actually, I'm not on trial, counselor, but what I'd like to say is a comment. I'm concerned about any type of environmental impact regarding like what was happening last night at this commissioner's office or commissioner's meeting, but regarding this particular project. Is it true that there's safety records and protocol and standards which include wildlife? Was everything involved in the history of any type of inflation of cost as well as the former one that I commented on? But my comment is the inclusion of any overestimating or not reporting what the budget would be at the end. This is minor compared to what you just passed, but I'd like to know if there's consideration with the wildlife and fish and game and safety record, and if this is an outsource of a corporation outside of the United States like the former company that was approved this major contract, Kramer North America, that the Gazette newspaper basically reported all these inaccuracies of what had happened with the bids. And I believe there's alternative reasons why companies are not being allowed to properly get the job and bidding the job. And I do believe that Kramer is located, the parent company is Tokyo. But my comment is, with this project in mind, is there any reporting of necessary, issues regarding any type of wildlife or any type of safety records that you would be concerned about with this project? And I'm done commenting. Thank you. And one more comment. It wasn't a scratch on the sidewalk, as Mr. Roberts. I have
Ms. McPherson, again, we're going to refrain your comments to this particular item. Thank you. Troy, do we have any additional comments online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no additional online comment.
Okay, and with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further comment, discussion, and/or motion.
I have a motion to approve a contract for the Perry Park Road Traffic Safety Improvements Project to Kiewit Construction Company in the amount of $2,734,340.50. Douglas County Project Number TF 2020-023, and a budget reallocation transferring $303,608.25 from Business Unit 800,833, decimal point 478200 to Business Unit 861565, decimal point 478300, both in Fund 230, to meet the increase in the total match required by CDOT.
And I'll just clarify, that's a local match, not a total match. The mover will accept that amendment, no problem. And I will second that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 2-0. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll move to our final item for today, which is item 4C, an intergovernmental agreement between the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas and the State of Colorado Department of Transportation regarding financial contribution toward construction of the C470 Trail and University Boulevard pedestrian grade separation project, State Project STU C470-047 24528, and Douglas County Project Number CI 2021-020. And we have Benjamin Pierce presenting for staff. Hi, Benjamin.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
As mentioned, I'm Benjamin Pierce, and I'm here from the Capital Improvements Group in Public Works Engineering to talk about this project today. So a little bit with the project overview. So this project is located in north central Douglas County at the C470 and University Boulevard interchange. So just north of the westbound on and off ramps is where the proposed project is taking place, which is shown here with a green line. And as you can see, it's going to be built basically north of the existing C470 trail And since University Boulevard currently goes under C470, this proposed grade separation project will be a bridge carrying the C470 trail over University Boulevard. And I'd also like to point out that the, University Boulevard through most of Douglas County is owned and maintained by Douglas County. And this orange line here at the eastbound on and off ramps signifies everything north of that line up into Arapahoe County is owned and maintained by CDOT, and everything south of that line is owned and maintained by Douglas County. And so a little bit more about the project, and as they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. This is a picture of a bridge down in Colorado Springs, and it's a good example of what our proposed design looks like. So the aesthetics of this project that we're proposing is going to be similar to other C470 trail projects currently in design and in construction, namely Lone Tree's Acres Green grade separation project and Douglas County's Yosemite grade separation project on the C470 trail. One notable exception to our project compared to those is that those projects have retaining walls that basically go up all the way to where the bridge starts. And in our project, it's going to look more like this. So as you can see on the left side of the picture, before the actual bridge span starts, there's these cast-in-place approach spans. And so we're going to be utilizing those in the design of this project. And the main reason is because there are substantial utilities that are underground in the area. And if we were to go with a retaining wall design, it would require that those utilities be relocated prior to construction. So this allows us to, move those columns to avoid having those utility impacts. And as Art mentioned in his previous presentation, utility relocations are very expensive and can take a very long time. So a little bit about the funding and the details included in this proposed IGA. So the project was selected as part of CDOT and DRCOG's Safer Main Streets initiative, which came out in 2020 as a funding opportunity. And we were notified in March of 2021 that the project was selected for funding. So the funding for this project is 80% state with a 20% local match, and we received the full requested amount for a total project cost of $6.4 million. And so how that breaks out with the 80%, 20% split is about a maximum of $5.12 million from CDOT, which is state funds only, and it does not include any federal funds, and $1.28 million minimum from Douglas County. And as such, the $6.4 million in funding covering the full project is anticipated to cover both the construction of the bridge and all related activities, as well as the consultant construction management and testing that will be done to augment county staff to oversee the construction of the project. And just as a note about the way this funding works, the CDOT funds and the $5.12 million is on a reimbursed basis. So, we will, when the time comes, bid the project, encumber those funds, and then as a reimbursed, each month, CDOT will reimburse for an invoiced amount from the county. If the project is less than $6.4 million, it'll be split evenly at 80%, 20%. And if it goes over $6.4 million, anything over that would be full Douglas County contribution. And a few other details about this particular IGA that's a little bit different than CDOT standard IGA is there's some project enhancements that were included to extend the service life and reduce long-term maintenance of the structure. So those 4 items are increasing the structural design life from the typical 80-year to 100 years to make it last longer. And there's certain design aspects that'll be accomplished in order to make that happen. The trusses, so the picture that we showed before shows a painted structure. In order to reduce maintenance, we'll be doing weathered steel. So that's where it looks like it's rusty, but it basically has a weathered outside on it that doesn't require any regular painting. Oop. Aha, wrong way. And then the third item for long-term maintenance is using Class G concrete, which is basically a innovative new type of concrete that CDOT is using on bridge decks, which minimizes cracking, which in turn increases the design life by not allowing water to infiltrate the structure and cause long-term damage to the rebar inside. And also, lastly, using different kinds of structural steel in order to, again, extend the service life and make the bridge last longer over time. And then the last component of the IGA that's a little bit different than typical, the local agency, it does outline minor maintenance items required by the local agency, which in this case is Douglas County or any partners we have, such as Highlands Ranch Metro District in this particular area. So those items are to basically own and do maintenance and snow removal on the section of the C470, what's currently the C470 trail, which is going to go from University to where it connects to the C470 trail, and minor crack sealing on the constructed improvements, and also graffiti removal is kind of the last item that we'd be responsible for. So again, those are minor maintenance items. If major maintenance items are required, that would still be under the purview of the owner of the structure, which will be CDOT. And then just an update on schedule and where we're at with the process. So the design consultant, RS&H, was selected by Douglas County in October of 2021, and they've been working diligently with county staff on the design of the project. And we're currently basically done with our preliminary design and ready to submit the structure selection report, which is our opportunity to present the alternatives that were looked at and proving to CDOT that we've looked at different alternatives, and the proposed option is both most economical and just the right fit for a variety of reasons, including aesthetics, cost, maintenance, and all those different items. And the review meeting with CDOT is anticipated to occur in October of 2022, so just next month. And full design plans will be completed by the end of the year, sometime in December, with a review meeting with CDOT for concurrence in January 23. So all this means is that right now the project is on track to be ready for construction advertisement in May of 2023. And per the IGA, the project construction shall be substantially complete by June 30th of 2024. So this allows us basically about a year anticipated to construct the project, which is more than enough for a project of this size and scope. So with that, the staff recommendation is to approve the IGA between Douglas County Board of County Commissioners and CDOT regarding the C470 Trail and University Boulevard pedestrian grade separation project.
Great. Benjamin, nice job. Any questions for staff on this particular item?
Benjamin, thank you for that excellent presentation. I know we get lots of complaints about people on bikes after C470 was completed with the new build out, complaining about how unsafe it is at intersections. So this, well, it is a time in the future before it's finished, is a good step in the right direction. Let me just make sure I understand this, that what this is an IGA with CDOT that says this is what the county is going to do, this is what the state is going to do, and we're not committing any money at this point.
Well, the commitment is actually from CDOT to Douglas County. So that is for a funding agreement with an 80% state funds and a 20% local match. So we are committing for the construction of the project to put up to $1.28 million, and then anything over $6.4 million when the project does go to construction.
So that was what my question is, and maybe Mr. Ingalls can help me with this. Are we actually committing the 1 point something money as well right now, or will that happen at a later date?
Thank you, Art. So Art reminded me, so the $1.2 million is currently in Douglas County's budget. So on our side of things, we've already put that money in place, and this agreement is really just to say that the funding will be a match when that goes to construction. Have I answered the question?
Yeah, so again, this is just the IGA. This isn't about committing any money to anything. This is just that we're going to work with CDOT and get this done.
Correct.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
You know, I don't have any additional questions, but I think today highlights the county's commitment to not only alleviating traffic congestion, but really improving safety for our citizens, pedestrians, cyclists, and all those that use these important thoroughfares. So thank you for being such a big part of that, Benjamin.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Let me open it up for any citizen comment on this item 4C. Is there any citizen comment either in the room or online?
Commissioner Layden, this is Troy, your host. I have Lee McPherson again wanting to comment on this.
Okay.
Hi there. So I'm sorry, it's McPherson. I apologize, I should have corrected you in the beginning. So I apologize, I didn't get your name that's presenting, but the architectural firm that made this design, RS&H, is that right? I think I
And
thought you
again,
said
Ms. McPherson, I
RS&H.
think you've been directed several times to just state your
Oh, I'm
comments.
sorry.
This
Thank
is
you,
not,
Counselor. Thank you.
ma'am.
You're right, I'm wrong. You're right, I'm wrong. I shouldn't question.
So I'm going to hold you in contempt in a second here. So I'm going to, again, I'm going to ask you not to interrupt.
Thank you, Counselor.
You can
Okay.
make statements. You cannot ask questions. And if you do it
Okay.
again, I'm going to ask you to be cut off. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, like last night. I just want to mention that the engineering firm.
Yeah,
design
exactly
firm,
like last
how many
night. When
projects-
you swear and cuss and treat our staff
I swear-
disrespectfully,
oh, I
that's not
swore
the conduct that our
sir,
county
you were
is.
removed almost last-
Okay,
2 years
ma'am,
ago.
you are in contempt. Troy,
Counselor, you need
please
to
cut her off.
stop. I'm having a comment about the design
Troy, you can
company that you're
end
unaware
that
of.
comment. Do we have any additional citizen comment?
No additional online comments, sir.
Okay, thank you. And for the record, I want to be clear, this county has a long history of citizen comment and engagement. We've had 64 live town halls in the last year and a half. Our staff prides themselves on the engagement that it has regularly with all 374,000 citizens that we represent. The history of people coming here and being able to speak, disagree with us is well supported, but we also do have a history of decorum and professionalism in this room that we do expect. So with that, let me bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
I have a motion to approve an intergovernmental agreement between the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, Douglas County, and the State of Colorado Department of Transportation regarding financial contribution towards construction of the C470 Trail and University Boulevard pedestrian grade separation project, State Project STU C470-047, parens 24528, and Douglas County Project Number CI 2021-020.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. I will second that motion. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 2-0. So with that, we'll move to item 5, other business. Is there any other business today? And then item 6 from our county manager. Our county manager's report is included in the packet today. Anything on our county manager report? Okay, and then we'll move to item 7, which are commissioner comments. Are there any commissioner comments today?
I would just like to invite everybody to our live town hall tonight at 6 o'clock. We'll be talking about our new health department. We're 85% up and running. By the end of the year, we will be 100% up and running, 41 employees, an annual budget of $2.5 million. So please show up in person in this room tonight at 6 o'clock or call in. You'll be amazed at what you learn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't have any additional comment. We'll adjourn for today and resume in about 5 minutes for our land use and public hearing. Thank you very much.